Good morning, everybody. As Justin said, I've been given the task of presenting Ireland's strategy for more profitable beef and sheep industry. Before I get into it, particularly for those visitors from abroad, just a few terms that I'll be mentioning as I go through the presentation. If you see DAFM, it's our Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine. TAGUSC, Ireland's Agriculture and Food Development Authority, is an agency of the department that carries out research, extension work and education in an integrated way within one organisation, which can be unique, I think. ICBF is well known to you all, and I will mention towards the end Board BIA, which is our Irish food board, involved in marketing and promoting of our meat and food. As background, Ireland is a relatively small country, less than 7 million hectares, 4.6 million of that used for agriculture. We have over 130,000 farmers, average size nearly 33 hectares per farm. For a small country, we have large numbers of livestock, so 6.6 million cattle, 5.1 million sheep, and our agriculture production system is primarily grass-based production. The agri-food sector in Ireland, it's our largest indigenous industry, 24 billion output annually, 9 billion export annually, implying 135,000 people, and at these times, in time of recession, is one of the shining lights, I think, within our economy. Some brief background on our beef and sheep industries. The beef, we have over 60,000 suckler farms, 1.1 million suckler cows, average herd size relatively small at 17 per herd. There's less than 10,000 suckler farmers that would have 30 cows or more. We can't forget the beef also that's coming from the dairy herd. 50% of the over 1 million cows on the dairy herd in Ireland are bred to beef also. We have annual production of 540,000 tonnes of beef, and again, probably unique in the world, 85% of that is exported. And nowadays, almost all, 98% of that is exported to the high-value European market, the UK and continental Europe. We've always traditionally have live exports. In 2011, those were 200,000, which have been decreasing in recent years. But the total value of our meat and live exports is 2 billion a year, which is very significant. On the sheep side, 32,000 sheep farmers approximately. We have lowland and upland production, 2.35 million ewes, which is a slight increase on last year after significant reductions over the previous 6 or 7 years. We have 53,000 tonnes of sheep meat produced, and again, 75% has to be exported, with 80% actually has to be exported, and 75% of that goes to the UK and France, and the value at over 180 million. However, I think the core of what I'm to talk about is profitability, and I think we all have to acknowledge that profitability is a problem within our beef and sheep production industry. This is information from the TAGUSC National Farm Survey. There are estimated figures at the moment, but will be finalised in the next month and are not expected to change. It shows the family farm income per production system in Ireland. And you can see, if you look at the suckler beef and sheep at 10,500 and 17,000 family farm income, that compared to dairying, for instance, at 69, tillage at 35, that the income is, for those farmers, is relatively low. I should point out that over 50% of the beef and sheep farmers have an off-farm income, and I think that's vital to their viability. As I say, profitability is a challenge. However, we believe that there is significant potential in Ireland for increasing profitability at farm level. And I'm putting forward one example to demonstrate that profitability, that potential. that again from the Teagasc National Farm Survey data of 2010, it shows that for the top 10% of beef and sheep farmers, that the net profit per hectare was €480 higher than the bottom 10%. So that shows that there is potential if you can get up into the top bracket, that the potential is there. But to do that, a lot is required, and we believe that competitiveness is the key, that you have to improve efficiency at production level and processing level all the way through the chain from start to finish. So what's Ireland doing about it? Ireland, the state and the industry works in partnership in trying to address this. And a lot is happening, and I hope I'll be able to convey that to you in the next 15 minutes or so. We have an overarching policy report, which is Food Harvest 2020. And we also have a wide range of specific measures which are subject of state support to help Irish farmers improve their profitability. On the Food Harvest 2020, it was published in 2010. It is an industry and state strategic plan, and it's actually an industry-led report to give a vision for the future of the Irish agri-food industry. And the aim of the report in one line is to improve competitiveness and growth of the Irish agri-food sector. It sets ambitious growth targets, and those from Ireland are aware of many of those. But for the beef and sheep, it sets a target of a 20% increase in the value of output from 2010 to 2020. In 2011, a beef activation group, which was established under 2020, doubled the target for beef to 40%. Our Minister is heavily committed to implementing Food Harvest 2020. He chairs a high-level group to look after the implementation. And the vision we have in Food Harvest 2020 is the state and industry working together to achieve the targets. To achieve those targets, there are 215 recommendations within the report, but many of those are commercial decisions for industry. On the beef side, briefly, there are 20 recommendations. I have just put forward 3 here as an example, just to give you a flavour. Supporting breeding, that is supporting ICBF, applying what our researchers are finding at research level and applying that to farm level, which is very important. And then on the processing side, increasing our value-added exports. On the sheep side, there are 12 recommendations. Again, I give 3 examples here across breeding, uptake of technology, and also relating to the processing sector, particularly value added in that we export most of our lamb in carcass form. But now to get on to what I think is more something tangible about what are we doing. And there are a wide range of initiatives where the state is supporting the beef and sheep industry. And these are across research, breeding, data capture, knowledge exchange, knowledge transfer, sometimes used, animal health, marketing, structural investment. And you will see as I go through the rest of the presentation that a significant amount of those initiatives were started in the last number of years. Recognizing that there is a problem, then there's a lot of people trying to do a lot about improving the situation. The department, and I think many other people, recognises the importance of knowledge, scientific knowledge, to underpin improving efficiencies at farm level and all the way through to developing new products, food products, etc. in the agri-food sector. And for that reason, we have 3 research programs operated by the department, one for food, one for agriculture production, and one for forestry. And there's an investment over 20 million a year into those 3 programs. They are based on research calls whereby the TAGAs, the universities, the institutes of technology compete for the funding. And as I say, annual expenditure of over 20 million. Last year, industry-led advisory groups, and I think that's crucial, that it's the industry taking the lead in collaboration with the department, developed 2 strategic research agendas, one for agriculture production, which is called Stimulating Sustainable Agriculture Production Through Research and Innovation, and the other is Food Research Ireland. And what these 2 reports do is simply identify the key priorities at which research funding should be targeted. And for example, on the SAPRI one, the agriculture production one, among the priorities are animal breeding, animal reproduction, grassland management, things that are crucial if you want to improve production at farm level, or profitability at farm level. We had a significant research call last December, and the priorities, the majority of the priorities identified here are included in that research call. TAGASC, I mentioned earlier, is one of its functions is research. So it carries out a whole range of relevant research to farmers and the food industry, and as in the context of this forum, beef and sheep also. But I just want to highlight 2 things which have happened in recent years. One is TAGASC has established a suckler beef research demonstration farm at Grange, and also a sheep research demonstration farm just only last year in Athenry. And the purpose of these research farms is to apply the findings from research to the suckler herd and the sheep flock in these research farms, and then for that, the outcome of that to be demonstrated to farms in different ways, both in publications, in the media, in the press, and by visits to farmers, and publicise the outcomes of it. So to connect research and what goes on a research farm to farmers. We can't forget that ICBF and Sheep Ireland, our 2 breeding organisations, also carry out research. Sometimes we forget this, that if you're developing genetic evaluations and breeding programmes, that there's significant research has to go in to doing that. On the breeding side, I'm only putting up 1 slide because there were plenty of other presentations during the course of the ICAR meeting. ICBF is responsible for our cattle breed improvement and established 14 years ago, and I think we in Ireland are very proud of what ICBF has developed in the context of our cattle breeding infrastructures. Sheep Ireland, more recently established only in 2008, it also is operated by ICBF but with a different governing structure, and it has made a lot of progress in its short life to date in developing infrastructure and data collection, but there's still a lot more to do. The department provides funding to both ICBF and Sheep Ireland, and are represented on the governing bodies. I'm on the board of ICBF, and my colleague Dermot Ryan, who's with us here this morning as well, chairs the board of Sheep Ireland. Data capture, which I think is the core of ICAR, and it's something I'm going to pay a little bit of attention now for the next few minutes, is very significant if we want to make improvements in genetics. Then the first thing we need is data. We need ancestry data and we need performance data. So what's happening in Ireland in that regard with regard to beef and sheep? The first thing, I'm going to stay at home within the department. We have what we call an Animal Identification and Movement System, the AIM system. And the main purpose of that is for traceability and food safety purposes. It's legislation driven. But it records births, movements, farm to farm, farm to factory, farm to livestock mark, and it records deaths. And there's a nightly transfer of data from our AIM system to ICBF for farmers, from the data of farmers that have given consent for that, which in the beef situation is 80% of beef farmers. It's given to ICBF free of charge, but it is one of the critical building blocks of the ICBF database. In 2008, the department established the Suckler Cow Welfare Breeding Scheme after discussions with industry. There was a lot of intense discussions as to what shape it should take. It was launched in 2008, but from the breeding side, the core objective was recognising that there was a difficulty with regard to availability of data for beef breed improvement. How could this be addressed? And this was one of the ways. Farmers receive a payment, but they have to meet a wide range of welfare and breeding conditions. On the breeding side, a lot of you would be familiar with the ICBF animal events, and farmers participating are obliged to record the calf identification, the dam and sire identification, calving information, calving ease, mortality, gestation length, calf quality and docility. The one comment I'd make on this scheme is the dramatic impact it has had on the availability of data for breeding, for beef breeding. I'm only given one figure. In 2011 alone, 75% of the calves born in the suckler herds were recorded in animal events, which, relative to where we were a number of years ago, this is dramatic improvement. The slaughter plants also supply slaughter information to the department in the form of animal identification, carcass weight, conformation and fat grades. And the department also in the same way makes this information available to ICBF. For those who wouldn't be familiar with Ireland, we have a mechanical grading system in Ireland, and part of that is there are images of carcasses, each carcass taken through photography, and the meat plants make that information, the carcass images, also available to ICBF to use for research on beef. But ICBF itself, of course, has, as you all know, they capture data from a wide range of places, but in particular herd books, AI organisations, and weights and linear scoring from farms. And all of the information I've talked about goes into what we call our cattle breeding database. And I've tried to summarise here. You'll see different forms of this slide. I've seen it yesterday, you'll probably see it again. But up here is information that goes into the department that is then transferred to ICBF, and I said births in particular, but also movements from markets and deaths and slaughter plants. Down here then we have the core data that goes into ICBF. Okay, sorry, yeah. The core data that goes into ICBF, the herd books and that. And then, as I mentioned, the Suckler Welfare Scheme provides significant data, and something I'll refer to later where some data comes from also is the Beef Technology Adoption Programme. But in here then we have a powerful tool not just for cattle breeding, but for other sources. And if anybody was listening to the Joe Flaherty yesterday afternoon with the way this database has helped Animal Ireland make so much progress in the couple of years that it has been established. Thank you. Moving on then, on the sheep side, Sheep Ireland is capturing data from flock books, from pedigree flocks, from the central progeny test flocks, the maternal lamb producers programme, and both Teagasc and UCD have researched flocks on their farms, and there's data. But there is a challenge, as I say, Sheep Ireland is not as long established, and there is a challenge there to all of the industry, in particular pedigree breeders and commercial sheep farmers, in trying to address the problem of data. Knowledge exchange, there's no point in having knowledge and information if you can't relay that to particularly the farmers, the producers in the beef and sheep sectors. And I use knowledge exchange rather than knowledge transfer, because I think these sort of things are a two-way thing, that even those who are bringing the knowledge, when meeting with farmers, they learn something as well. So I use the word knowledge exchange. The department is involved in it, Teagasc is involved in it, and ICBF. From the department perspective, just earlier this year, there was a significant development in the establishment of the beef adoption technology program. And the object of the program is to provide farmers with the opportunity and the knowledge to reduce costs, increase the output from their farms, and thereby increase their profits. There is an incentive to a farmer to participate. The department has made 5 million available in 2012, and there's over 6,000 beef suckler farmers have joined the scheme. But in joining the scheme, there are a number of things the beef farmer has to do. The first is to join a discussion group. And we're finding in Ireland now that the format of the discussion group is one of the best ways of encouraging farmers to adopt to new ways, new management and technologies. They are required to meet regularly with their advisor, and that can be a Teagasc advisor or an agricultural consultant. From an ICBF point of view, they're required to provide the animal events data and join ICBF Herd Plus, and there was a presentation on the dairy side yesterday, and there's a presentation later in this session on the beef Herd Plus. But the core thing in what these farmers who join here is adopting best practice in grassland management, animal breeding, animal health and welfare, and financial management, because these are the things that drive profitability. Teagasc is heavily involved in extension work or knowledge transfer or knowledge exchange. And its primary role is they have a program called Knowledge Transfer and Advisory Program. And they have advisors dedicated to beef and sheep farmers for transferring knowledge on a one-to-one basis. And the latest information I have is that there are over 6,000 beef and sheep farmers signed up to Teagasc for that program. But in recent years, they have developed a Better Farm beef program, and that program, which I'll give a little bit extra information in a moment, but that program is supported by the Irish Farmers Journal, the meat industry, and FBD Insurance. They more recently established the Better Farm sheep program. The beef program only commenced in 2008, and there were 16 good commercial farms selected. And the aim is to demonstrate the potential to turn efficiency, increasing your efficiency of production, into profit. And the central part of the Better Farm program is the farm plan, that with their advisor, there's a farm plan which includes breeding, grassland management and performance monitoring, and they participate in discussion groups. An interesting piece of information that would have come out of this not too long ago, in the last 6 or 8 weeks, is that the gross margin per hectare for the 16 participating farmers from 2008 to 2011 increased dramatically from 386 to 843. The target is to get to 1,000 euros per hectare. The Better Farm sheep program only commenced 2010, 10 commercial sheep farmers, and again the farm plan dealing with breeding policy, flock management, grassland management and financial side of things, and the recording of ewe and lamb performance. And both programs, a core part of both programs is the sharing of the information with other commercial farmers. And for instance, the Better Farm beef program is profiled regularly in the Irish Farmers Journal, and those from Ireland would see that on a regular basis. The information is also transferred in the context of discussion groups, but also organised visits to the farms. ICBF have two mechanisms in sharing information directly to the farmer, one for beef Herd Plus with over 8,000 farmers participating, and Lamb Plus 350 flocks. And essentially what it's doing is giving information back to the farmer on the performance of his own herd. enabling him then to make better breeding decisions, to improve the quality of the genetic makeup of the animals. And I'm not going to say any more because there are other presentations on that. Animal Health Ireland, established in 2009, again industry-led, but with support from the department. And everybody knows that herd health impacts on profitability and production of the herd. And Animal Health Ireland is making dramatic progress in trying to address some of the non-regulated diseases like BVD and Jonas, and there was a presentation yesterday and another this evening. But as I say, again, it's industry and state working together. Because we export so much of our beef and sheep, we cannot understate the importance of our markets. And it's an ongoing challenge to Ireland to have access to the best markets in the world. And there's an ongoing effort between the department, Board Beehan, industry, and our Irish embassies in recent years, since the Celtic Tiger left us, have been mandated to be very proactive in this as well. And there are expectations, you'd read in the paper of some markets reopening to us, but the traditional markets, we can't lose sight of those as well. Board Beehan, state agency responsible for market development and promotion. It is a critical link between the people who are producing food in this country, meat and food, with the customers throughout the world. And they're very proactive in this, both in Ireland and abroad. And as you can see here, they have strategically located offices in 9 or 10 countries. The last thing I'm touching on, and I think just briefly, there has been significant investment on farms and in the processing industry on the structures. Over €1 billion has been provided by the state for investment in structures on farms in the last 6 or 7 years, primarily towards animal housing and waste storage facilities. The objective were twofold. One, driven by legislation again, the requirements to meet particularly environmental legislation, the nitrates directive, etc., and food standards, but also to help increase the scale of our beef and sheep production and to help increase the efficiencies at farm level. At the processor level, in 2008, there was a beef and sheep investment fund established, and in 2009, out of that, there were 15 capital investment projects were approved for investment of state support of 69 million. And that's, while it's the department is providing the funding, that's implemented by Enterprise Ireland. And simply the purpose of that investment is to update, modernise our processing facilities and increase the production of value-added products, as well as create employment, which is important to us at this point in time. So in conclusion, there are challenges, but we believe that the range of things I've touched on, that if we can make small improvements across these, we can make a significant improvement in overall profitability on farms. We think there is the potential for maybe 30 or 40% of our beef and sheep farmers to improve to a level that they will become commercial viable farmers into the future. But this, in Ireland, our strategy, the basis is the state working in partnership with industry. I hope I have conveyed to you that there is a strategy in place to do that. Before you can start to develop a strategy, you must have a vision. And when you have your vision, then your strategy determines how you achieve your vision. So I'd like to ask you as I finish, what would you think the vision is here for this woman who seems to be struggling? Her vision is actually to jump. And it's her strategy that will determine how high. Thank you very much.